hey everyone, a lot of people have loved the can this character win a super major, and so based on feedback, some people were asking for Dr. Mario, and I think that's kind of an interesting one because Dr. Mario is seen as like being on the cusp of being good. I think Armada in general likes the Mario Brothers, Luigi, Dr. Mario, and to a loose extent Mario. And for a while, we did have a top performer in Shroomed who made plenty of top 8s in like the 2012-2013 era of Melee. And so now the question becomes like, why isn't it happening? Why don't we see Doc representation? And there's like multiple reasons for that. So just to kind of give you some context back in the day, Homemade Waffles earlier in like way back when used to also play Dr. Mario, and Shroomed in 2010 to 2013 was probably the forerunner. Actually, he's probably one of the only Dr. Mario's that really made breakout performances in majors at the time at like Apex 2012, Apex 2013. He was so consistent at making top 8s. He actually beat Leffen, Kirby Kaze over Triforce, a bunch of really good players with this character that people thought had many disadvantages against the top tier. Eventually, what happened was in 2014, a combination of things happened, like frustrations at locals, playing, players like SFAT and PewPew, and just getting destroyed by them, along with just like general lower performances at Super Majors, made him decide like, hey, Dr. Mario actually isn't that good. And this is like coming from Dwan, who Shroomed, who was very confident in his abilities, but using Dr. Mario to a high degree of success. But lo and behold, the locals were a huge struggle for him, and at nationals it was a huge struggle for him, and people were learning how to play against the character. And nowadays you don't really see too much Doc anymore. I mean, there's like Franz from SoCal, who has like the occasional top 64, and there's a couple people I can't really name off the top of my head, but overall, like, Dr. Mario hasn't seen much representation. And it comes for like a variety of reasons. I think that if you're going to play a character like Dr. Mario, you could just play Sheik or you can play Falcon, who have very similar functionalities to Doc, except they're just better. So I think what kind of tends to happen, this isn't to say that Dr. Mario is bad, it's just that if you want to play a certain style with Dr. Mario, you want to play this like footsies, grounded game, you can just play Sheik. Or if you want to play this up air, heavy combo game, or you want to be able to move around more, just play Falcon. And so I think that's what ends up happening with most mid tiers, is that they kind of realize like, I can make my life easy for myself by picking a top tier character, or I can struggle with Dr. Mario. One of the main issues, actually, so I would like to say this first and foremost. When you look at a super major, it's like I always look at the question of like, can this character beat the big hitters that you're going to have to play against in top 8s? And currently, with what I see from Dr. Mario, is that he doesn't really have the tools to really consistently win against like the top 8 players. It's not to say that the matchups are like impossible, but it's hard for me to really say that like the matchup is better than like 45-55, or he might even have an even matchup here and there, but man, Dr. Mario struggles a lot. And he has like some good tools for him. Like he has, chain grabs on like Spaceys, on Sheik. He has some pretty good combos. His pills aren't bad. But I think what tends to happen, this is what kind of happened with Dwan or Shroomed back in the day, is that matches against top players would get close. And then the top player that would play against Shroomed would just be like, hey, like I can just camp Dr. Mario, and Dr. Mario has to overextend and consistently make the right read to do damage. And and this was what happened against Armada and Hungrybox, is that they realized that Dr. Mario couldn't reach Peach or Puff at certain heights, so they could just stay at certain positions that Dr. Mario had really not many good solutions to, that Peach and Puff had a consistent winning positions on. And even if Dr. Mario made the hard read, it would lead to like 10 to 15 damage. And so I remember vividly talking to Shroomed about this, and after Apex, where he lost to Hungrybox and he lost to Armada, he was just like, I don't know what to do. And this is incredibly frustrating. Like, I wish I could play a character with more mobility, and deal with this, but I'm an aggressive player and I want to run in on them, but I just can't do it. Other characters like Falcon also can abuse Dr. Mario's lack of mobility. Nair cuts through pills, and just Falcon's movement is so hard for Mario to deal with. And in general, even in the NorCal scene, I mentioned this before, PPU was getting really good against Doc. I just think that Mart's normals, his sword range, it was really hard for Doc to deal with. Although Shroomed had some success with Dr. Mario against Mart's, here and there. Against people who actually knew the matchup, it was really a huge struggle for him. And SPAT just messed up Shroom towards the tail end of the Dr. Mario, where he was just going to camp him. Up tilt was really hard for Dr. Mario to deal with. General campiness. So that's kind of the recurring theme. It's just like, how does Dr. Mario deal with camping? And keep in mind, I don't believe that Shroom was the ultimate pinnacle of what Dr. Mario could do. In fact, although Shroom was really good at approaching, his technical skill when he was playing him wasn't very good. He didn't do the modern day techniques of like up B canceling or shield dropping and all that stuff back in the day. And his combos weren't very optimized. He would frequently drop chain grabs. He would mess up things that he should be getting to maximize damage. So even though he did see a great deal of success, I wouldn't say that like he played it perfectly with Doc, or that he was playing optimally, or that there's not things that could be optimized. So I don't want to say that this is the end for Dr. Mario, and I think there is some degree of potential. It's just the big issue is I don't know what the answers are for camping. And but with that being said, like I said similar things for Yoshi, where Yoshi struggles against camping, but we see over time that Omps is adding answers to dealing with like air camping from Puff. Like he's adding in back airs, he's using his projectiles more effectively, and that's something that Dr. Mario players could be doing. It's hard to say in Theorycraft fully because I'm not a Dr. Mario player. I have played against Shroomed a lot back when he was playing Doc, and I found that camping usually worked really well against him. Also, other things that could be worked on aren't being worked on because, like I said, I think people just give up on the character and move on to something easier, and it makes sense. Like, you're working so much harder to make Dr. Mario work. But, let's say if Sheik or Falcon didn't exist, then I really do believe a lot more people would be playing Dr. Mario because he fits a certain kind of playstyle. But with that being said, I think that's part of the reason why Dr. Mario is a little bit underdeveloped. And even then, even though Shroomed has complained about the campier matchups, he was close. So maybe who's to say that he couldn't have done it? Although I have to say that now that players have gotten way better, so maybe it's a lot harder and there's a larger gap. But I don't see. So if we're gonna sum up this video, I don't really see it happening anytime soon. I think he struggles way too hard in way too many matchups for now. But I think some of these matchups could be 50-50, maybe. But I think he probably loses most matchups, even if we were to optimize things a bit more, just because of the lack of mobility to get in on certain characters and just not having that it factor that most other top tier characters have. Where most to be a top tier character, you got to have something that you can abuse or that's really strong about your character, and Dr. Mario doesn't really quite have that. So those are my opinions. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe, and let me know what character you want me to talk about next.